When I lost my job, I thought the hardest part would be telling my parents. It wasn't. The hardest part came 3 days later, standing on their porch with my duffel bag in hand, hearing my dad say, "This isn't a halfway house, Mason. You're not 16 anymore." I blinked. My fingers tightened around the strap. "Just 1 month. While I figure things out." "Ayo. You're a grown man," he cut in. "Start acting like it." Mom didn't say a word. She stood behind him, arms folded, eyes low, like she was waiting for the moment to pass. I looked at her, hoping for some softness, anything. Her silence was a louder rejection than his words. "It wouldn't be forever," I tried again. "I just need a place to sleep while I look." Dad scoffed. "What kind of example are you setting for your brother?" That part hurt more than I let on. So I left. No yelling. No begging. Just a quiet drive to my friend Theo's couch and a long night of trying to convince myself this was temporary. Just bad luck. Not personal. It felt personal, though. A week later, I saw it on Instagram. My little brother Tyler and his fiancée moving into my old room. Same posters still up. Same desk I built from scraps when I was 16. The caption said, "New beginnings at Mom and Dad's. So lucky to have this space while we plan our big day." No shame. No secrecy. I stared at that photo for 10 minutes. Tyler hadn't lost his job. He hadn't been evicted. He just wanted to save money for the wedding. And apparently that was reason enough to hand him the room I was told didn't exist for me. No one called to explain. No one texted to warn me. I found out like everyone else did, through filtered smiles and heart emojis. I didn't reply. Didn't comment. Didn't like it. But something shifted that day. I didn't explode. I froze. And for the first time in my life, I started thinking not about how to earn their love, but how to unlearn the need for it. Sleeping on Theo's couch felt like living in a borrowed life. His fridge was full of things I didn't recognize, and his dog took up more space than seemed physically possible for a terrier. Still, it was warm. Safe. No expectations, no judgment. I spent the first few days applying to jobs, telling myself to keep moving forward. But by the end of the week, something heavier settled in, a kind of emotional jet lag. The crash after a lifetime of always showing up, always fixing, always being the good one. It hit me during a walk through the park. I passed a mom holding her toddler's hand, and for some reason it unlocked this old memory, me, 7 years old, holding my little brother's hand at the grocery store while Mom rushed through the aisles. "Take care of him, Mason. Keep him close." I had always kept him close. In every way. Covered for him in high school. Helped him move 3 different times. Did his taxes once. Picked him up drunk at 3 a.m. more than once. Never a thank you. Just expectation. And it wasn't just Tyler. Mom needed help with her internet? I was there. Dad's garage door jammed? I fixed it. They didn't love me. They relied on me. I wasn't a son. I was a support beam. Useful. Until I wasn't. That realization gutted me. I remember getting back to Theo's, sitting on the couch and not moving for hours. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just sat with that feeling, the cold, heavy truth of it. They never saw me. Not really. They saw what I could give. What I could solve. So I made a decision. Not to explode. Not to yell. Not even to punish. I decided to vanish from their lives, from their comfort zone, from their toolbox. If they only valued me for what I could do, I'd stop doing it. Let's see what love looks like when it's not tied to usefulness. The first message came on a Thursday. "Hey, the Wi-Fi's acting up again. Can you swing by?" I stared at it for a moment and then locked my phone. 2 hours later, Dad says the water heater's making that noise again. "Can you take a look?" I didn't answer. Next day, a family group chat popped up. My mom had added me. A stream of messages rolled in, funny memes, links to random articles, and then the kicker, a request from Tyler for help setting up their joint tax software. I didn't say a word. I left the chat. One by one, the messages kept coming, reminders of birthdays I hadn't been invited to, group photos with captions like "Family is everything," tagged in posts I wasn't in. All noise. All pressure. But I'd made up my mind. For the first time in my life, I didn't rush to fix it. And something strange happened. I felt good. There was this tiny flicker of satisfaction every time I didn't reply, didn't drive over, didn't say, "Sure, I'll handle it." They noticed, too. My aunt messaged me asking if I was okay. I said I was doing great. Tyler called once, left a message that said, "Bro, it's not that deep. Just call back." I didn't. Mom finally texted, "Are you punishing us?" I read it. Let it sit. And then turned off my phone. Silence, I realized, was its own answer. It didn't take long for things to fall apart. The texts shifted tone first, from casual requests to barely veiled panic. Hey Mason, the garbage disposal's leaking. Water everywhere. Power bills overdue. Can you help Dad sort the online account? Tyler's car battery died. He says you know the jump sequence. Still, I said nothing. The silence must have unnerved them because then they started calling Theo. He laughed and told me one night over beers your mom asked if I could nudge you back into the family circle. I told her you were busy being peaceful. That made me smile. Then came the real spiral. Turns out Tyler didn't actually know how to do most of the things I used to handle. His DIY skills stopped at plugging things in. His fiancée? Not impressed. According to Theo's girlfriend, who's friends with someone in her circle, there was a massive blow-up after the AC shorted and Tyler spent 3 hours blaming the thermostat. She left a week later. Took the dog and most of the furniture. Dad apparently tried to fix the heater himself and cracked the panel. They went 2 days without hot water. Mom called a technician but couldn't figure out the billing system since it was tied to my old account login. Everything I used to do, the invisible load, the constant maintenance, was suddenly glaring in its absence. They tried showing up at Theo's once. I didn't answer the door. Just sat on the couch while their shadows paced behind the glass. I wasn't being cruel. I was being free. And for the first time I watched as the world I used to hold up with both hands began to tilt. I had been their balance, their backup, their unspoken plan B. Without me, the cracks widened. The tension grew. They were finally feeling what it was like to not have me as the silent glue holding things together. And I felt no guilt. Only clarity. Only control. Only peace. I always knew it would come to this, the family guilt brigade. It's practically a tradition. It started with Aunt Linda. She called out of the blue, voice dripping with concern. Mason, honey, I heard things got tense. Your mom's so worried. You know how much she loves you. I almost laughed. She loves me, huh? She's just old school, Linda hedged. They all are. You've always been the mature one. Maybe it's time to be the bigger person again. There it was. The magic phrase. Be the bigger person. Translation, let them off the hook. Again. Next came the cousins. A few DMs with faux friendly tones. Hey man, not taking sides, but you know how parents are. Don't let one moment ruin everything. Tyler's struggling too, you know. I didn't answer any of them. The worst was Uncle Paul, who sent me a full-on Facebook essay about duty and forgiveness. They're your parents, Mason. At the end of the day, you only get one family. Wrong. You get one childhood. You choose your family when you're grown. I stopped explaining. Stopped defending. Stopped replying. It wasn't anger anymore. It was clarity. I wasn't the family handyman. I wasn't the emotional punching bag. I wasn't the default tech support and crisis line and unpaid therapist. I was a person. And I was done performing sainthood for the sake of optics. If love came with strings and silence and guilt trips, it wasn't love at all. So I cut the strings. One by one. Blocked numbers. Moved chats to archive. Let the noise fade into background static. I wasn't running. I was reclaiming space. And for the first time, I didn't feel cold about it. I felt free. When I got the job offer, I didn't cry. I didn't jump up and down. I just sat in the kitchen of my new apartment, small, sunlit, mine, and breathed. A real breath. Not the shallow kind I used to take in my parents' living room. It wasn't flashy work. Mid-level operations for a logistics company. But it was stable, remote, and paid enough that I didn't have to couch hop anymore. I bought a used couch. A decent coffee maker. A plant I named Dennis that died within a week, but it still felt like a win. I kept my phone quiet. Notifications silenced, location sharing off. If they noticed, they didn't say. Meanwhile, I heard through the grapevine Tyler's fiancée left. Apparently she couldn't handle the chaos. My parents were behind on their utility bills. The roof leaked. Tyler tried to fix the water heater and made it worse. Mom complained to my aunt that everything's falling apart. They didn't ask for help anymore. Maybe because they knew the answer. Maybe because, for once, they were ashamed. But I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I wasn't gloating. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I was just living. Dinner with friends without checking my phone every 10 minutes. Mornings with music and no obligations. Quiet nights where I didn't lie awake trying to solve someone else's problems in my head. I didn't realize how much of my life had been on mute until I turned the volume up on myself. Theo visited once and said, "You seem taller." I think I'm just standing up straight for the first time. It wasn't revenge. It was recovery. And every time I walked through my front door, set down my keys, and looked around at my life, one I built with no strings attached, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. It started with a voicemail. Then 3. Then 12. My phone became a graveyard of missed calls, mostly from Mom, a few from Tyler, one from a number I didn't recognize that turned out to be Dad's work line. They weren't subtle. "This is family, Mason. You can't just disappear. We need you now. You're being cruel." I didn't answer. Then came the guilt letters. Mom's email opened with, "We're not perfect, but we're still your parents." She wrote about how hard it's been without me. How I'd made my point and it was time to come home for Christmas. "Tyler's going through a lot," she added. "You're the strong one. Always have been." I read it twice, calmly, then archived it. Then Tyler messaged me directly, "You proved whatever you needed to. Now grow up and be there for the people who raised you." That one made me laugh. Raised me? I raised myself on their neglect. The pressure escalated. Cousins reached out. My uncle left a passive-aggressive comment under a photo I posted of my new place. "Glad to see you're doing well. Maybe reach out to your folks before it's too late." Before what, exactly? What was I supposed to do? Rush back, put the support beam back under a house I no longer lived in? No. I replied to no one. Except Mom, once. I wrote, "You made your choice. Now you live with it. Please don't contact me again." And then I blocked the number. Blocked them all. 1 week later, I screwed a new sign onto the fence in front of my home. It was small, black, hand-painted, just 6 words. "Private property. No clowns allowed." A quiet joke. A boundary made visible. That night, I sat on my porch, sipping coffee, watching the sun dip below the tree-line. My phone didn't buzz. My chest didn't tighten. There were no strings left to pull. They called it betrayal. I called it peace. I didn't do it to hurt them. I did it to save myself. And for the first time in my life, I was no one's backup plan. I was just me. Free.